Welcome to the Calgary Environmental Roundtable Municipal Election Campaign, led by the Gravity Well podcast with me, Jenny Yeremy. The Calgary Environmental Roundtable, or CERT for short, is a nonpartisan coalition of environmental and climate organizations working together to ensure that water, nature, and climate are front of mind and that our members have an ongoing opportunity to shape the future of our city. Through our candidate questionnaire, mayoral and ward podcast panels, and voter engagement tool, CERT is connecting residents with candidates, elevating environmental priorities, and empowering Calgarians to make informed choices at the ballot box. Municipal decisions directly affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the communities we live in. As Calgary continues to grow, we must prioritize clean water, biodiversity, and bold climate action to ensure a safe and thriving city for generations to come. Our list of supporters is growing. Reach out to add your organization. Send your candidates and network the CERT questionnaire. Encourage their participation and ongoing relationship building with their representatives. Remember to follow, like, subscribe, and share the Gravity Well podcast. Together we can build a resilient, healthy, and sustainable city for all Calgarians. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be speaking with one of your Ward 4 candidates today, DJ Kelly. But I'm going to quickly run through some housekeeping. So as the intro suggests, the Calgary Environmental Roundtable is a climate, environment, and common good focused group of groups working together to ensure that water, nature, and biodiversity are front of mind and that our members have ongoing opportunities to shape the future of our city. Municipal decisions directly affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the communities we live in. The goal of this campaign is to connect you with your candidates, elevating environmental and common good priorities and empowering you and Calgarians to make informed choices at the ballot box and beyond. Thanks to Jeremy Farkas for Mayor, Ali Unwala for Ward 1, both Jennifer Winus and Trevor Kavanaugh for Ward 2, Andrew Yule and Jasprina Jahal for Ward 3 for your participation so far. You can check out their conversations with me on the Gravity Well podcast on YouTube or on my website. The links will be included in the live stream. We are grateful for the opportunity to highlight candidates' visions for a green future for Calgary in these exclusive or panel interviews, and I'm excited to hear from DJ today. But first, this campaign will be most successful because of you and your support. We have responses from 27 candidates across the city so far. That's about 40% of your candidates, and commitments to most of the podcasts, including confirmation of the mayoral forum on October 2nd at 7 p.m. Looking forward to speaking with Jeremy and Mayor Gondak. As well, I will be, please use the QR code in the corner of this chat and make sure that your candidates fill out the questionnaire. I do not have somebody lined up for tomorrow, which is Friday, and Ward 5. So if you are in Ward 5 and you want to hear from your candidates, please poke them and ask them to participate. Excellent. Lastly, I'll just say, please note that the candidates hold a wide range of environmental positions and priorities and objectives. Positions taken by participants, either individually or collectively, do not necessarily represent those of the Calgary Environmental Roundtable as a whole. Again, CERT in this campaign does not endorse or recommend any candidates or political parties. I, however, will do my best to offer some of my personal endorsements when I am done through the podcast. So lastly, please remember to like, follow, and subscribe the Gravity Well podcast. Together, we can build a resilient, healthy, and sustainable city for all Calgarians. Welcome to the show, DJ. Thank you so much for joining me.
Super happy to be here.
Yeah, I'll just put up my sponsors for a minute here. So this is everybody that's involved in the CERT campaign for this municipal election. And just quickly give you an introduction, or give an introduction of you. So DJ is a people person and a problem solver. He is a well-respected and he's well-known in Calgary. His career and volunteerism are about bringing people together to get things done. He's the former president of the Winston Heights Mountain View Community Association, and is currently a city council appointee board member of Ward 4's Green Industrial Business Improvement Area. A designated project management professional. He is currently the Director of Community Partnerships at the University of Calgary, and he previously led the City of Calgary's corporate marketing team. DJ has worked with the City Council to initiate their open data portal, making city data available to the public, and the Calgary Poet Laureate. a program funded at no cost to taxpayers. Thank you so much for joining me, DJ. Yeah, and please elaborate a little bit on yourself for others. I know you had mentioned in the lead to this that you ran in the election last time, please.
Yeah, it's true. So this is my second time. I ran last time around, finished 100 votes behind the current councillor in Ward 4, Sean Chu. So yeah, we're looking to get it done this time around to get some investment back in the neighborhoods, because when you take a look at the number of capital investments in each of the wards, Ward 4 routinely ranks near the bottom of that. Last time around, we were talking a lot about big picture projects, downtown revitalization and getting the full green line built, for example. This time, honestly, it's a lot smaller. It's we got to catch up, filling some potholes, fixing some broken sidewalks, those kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today, actually, to talk a little bit more big picture and some of the larger visionary type things that we can do together here in Calgary.
Yeah, thank you so much. It is so nice to have people acknowledge that the bigger picture is a big, important part of what drives any small decisions that we make in the city. So yeah, thank you again for stepping forward. A close race last time, so we'll see what the outcome is to this time, but it sounds like you've been working hard and that's hopefully going to pay off. Okay, so I'll go ahead and start with the first question. So Calgary's climate strategy outlined 5-year goals to reduce energy poverty, utility costs, create clean economy jobs, improve public health, and build more equitable, climate resilient communities. If elected, how will you work to achieve these outcomes for Calgarians? Thank you.
Yeah, I suppose the first thing I should say is when I was at the City of Calgary, after I completed my role on the corporate cultural, or pardon me, on the leading the city's corporate marketing team, I actually went over to the city manager's office and worked on a project around corporate cultural transformation. Got to work with every business unit doing that, figuring out like who are the administration, the employees of the City of Calgary when they're at their best, and how do you put those conditions in place. So as a result, out of the city manager's office, I got to know the climate team pretty well, actually, at the time. So congratulations on her retirement to Carolyn. Got to know Dick pretty well. At the time, it was Evan and Christina that were working in that office as well. So it was really interesting to have conversations with them about the climate goals that they had, Imagine Calgary, the sustainability goals, etc. It was a real great opportunity to hear sort of firsthand about the challenges that they were facing as they tried to implement those council-approved goals across the organization. Obviously, not short-term things by any stretch of the imagination, and many of those challenges and goals and the projects they're working on, I imagine, sort of continue to this day. I will say that I think that we're probably some of the stuff that I'll share here today. I probably share with a lot of the Calgary Party candidates who are running across the city. So while I don't want to speak entirely for them, hopefully some of the ideas that I share here, folks who are listening from other wards can apply those also to some of your Calgary Party candidates who might be running in your particular ward. So specifically on the climate strategy, the Calgary Party and I both are definitely committed to ensuring that Calgary's climate strategy moves from aspirational, which is where I'd say it is right now, to something much more actionable. That means obviously we need better accountability on our existing climate targets, and all of that needs to tie back to specific key performance indicators in our infrastructure, our land use, and our transit decisions. It's great to have a large strategy that applies across the city, but the real impact happens when we apply those goals to every single individual project that the city of Calgary undertakes. So, for example, we definitely need to link housing and infrastructure planning to ensure greater efficiency of use in our new communities. We want to accelerate the retrofits of city-owned buildings. I think that's a great place for us to be able to start. And obviously, in order to be able to do that, we need to work with our federal and provincial governments to be able to find ways to fund those retrofits appropriately. Transit, I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about transit today. I'm definitely keen to expand rapid transit and frankly, all active mobility networks as a way to be able to cut emissions, but also while giving Calgarians better and more affordable ways to get around the city. Um, Calgary is the kind of city where right now it frequently feels like you have to have a car to get around. Um, there are some folks who can't afford that. There's some folks who don't want that. I definitely think it's a city is operating at its best when it provides opportunities for everybody who lives in that lives in the city. So if you choose to use to live with a car, in my particular case, I got two young children. Having two cars is a completely non-negotiable with activities spread all over the city. But we definitely need to expand our active networks in order to be able to give more options. And then maybe finally on this point, I might also say that there is an opportunity here for the city of Calgary to support a clean economy through job creation. And one of the ways that we can do that is by tying the city of Calgary's procurement potentially to low carbon industries. I know that we've already been working on tinkering with the procurement process at the city of Calgary over the past couple of years, and there might be another opportunity there. And it's through each of these items and other ones like it, and every project that the city of Calgary undertakes, where we can really make sure that we are being environmentally sustainable, fiscally sustainable, and socially sustainable as well, building a city that works for absolutely everyone. Climate strategy becomes a central point of getting all three of those things done in a city that's affordable, livable, and just generally a place that people want to live, work, and play.
Wonderful. Okay, I'll see how I can do with all of that wonderful stuff. So, yeah, so you had firsthand experience working with the city and seeing what something aspirational looks like versus how it plays out in terms of measuring targets and things like that. So, appreciating that there are a lot of challenges in actioning these things. You had specific relationships with the climate group, which is wonderful. And actually, you were mentioning offline that you know the organizations behind CERT as well, some of them. So, also involved there. That the Calgary Party candidates have a similar view to what you're offering today. That you believe in certain performance indicators tied to every project, which is wonderful to hear. Retrofits, making sure that you have funding through the province or through the federal government to make sure that those things happen. Transit we'll get into, but like you said, it's a big part of making sure we're on track and that everybody has an opportunity to get around the city. And job creation, making sure that there is the jobs are looking to those industries of the future, as well as making sure that we're balancing the three things, which is affordability, livability, and social equity, if you will.
You're great at taking notes. Yeah, great summary.
Good. Okay, yeah, and feel free to elaborate if I miss anything or if you think of anything as we go.
I appreciate that.
Okay, next question. So how will you ensure that new community development and redevelopment in Calgary protects our watersheds, rivers and creek valleys, wetlands, and the wildlife and urban biodiversity who depend on these ecosystems? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned a moment ago some of the organizations that I've had a chance to work with in the past. I am a member of Save Nose Creek. I'm a member of Friends of Confederation Creek. We'll probably be able to talk a little bit more about those as we go through here today. But obviously, biodiversity and sort of respecting those non-human environments is important. I mean, Calgary is a place where not just people live, but also wildlife live. And it is that wildlife that actually makes Calgary a great place for all of us to live. So as a result, like we have to make sure that protection of rivers, wetlands, and natural corridors are a non-negotiable part of Calgary's growth. There's a few ways to be able to do that. Happy to get into them a little bit more detail, but like some of the commitments that I think that can be made around this is that number one, to the point about Nose Creek and Confederation Creek, we need to strengthen our watershed and riparian protection as part of our development process. It can be far too easy sometimes to forget about water in Calgary and how important it actually is, how rare it is in Calgary, how limited it is in Calgary. And so as a result, we definitely need to take all of that into consideration when we're developing new areas. I also would recommend that we encourage all redevelopment projects across the city to include stormwater management, tree cover. I'm sure we can talk a lot more about tree cover, and natural habitat protection. Big or small development, it's kind of incumbent upon all of us to remember that we share this land with our non-human friends as well. And sometimes it doesn't take much in the way of investment in order to be able to make sure that this is a great place for them to live as well. I might also say that anything that we can do to encourage development inside Calgary's existing footprint to limit our impact on the surrounding habitat and biodiversity is probably a good idea. Not only does it help, obviously, in terms of that habitat and biodiversity, but it actually is less expensive for us as well to find ways in order to be able to develop in our existing communities and increase density in appropriate areas, especially around, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this, around transit locations on the edges of communities, on main thoroughfares. Those kinds of places in Ward 4 are places that if we are able to develop there appropriately, it can help increase our transit usage. It can help keep our schools open, etc. Not specifically related to biodiversity, but all of these things obviously are interconnected as we look to develop Calgary, because Calgary is going to continue to grow. In 2024, we had more people move to Calgary than we've ever had move to the city before. It's a place where people want to live. All of us know that. We love this particular place. And one of the reasons why we love it so much is because of the biodiversity that we have and those rivers, wetlands, natural corridors as part of the city that we need to make sure that we're able to maintain for everyone's enjoyment and for everyone's future, frankly. Calgary is known as a place that is connected to the natural environment, and without that tree cover, without those major biodiversity protected areas, we wouldn't really be Calgary.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as you were saying, it's important to have some experience in some of these groups, like the Creek groups and the Watershed Council groups and things like that. So thank you for acknowledging that. Making sure that people understand that the wildlife in Calgary is a part of our identity, and making sure that people appreciate that and it's non-negotiable to the way that you want to operate. Making sure that watershed and riparian protections are a part of the planning process, that water has to be the primary focus of this. And as you said, it is a limited resource here, and we need to make sure that it's a part of the discussion. I had the opportunity to speak with Dr. Tricia Stadnick at the U of C, and yeah, she was highlighting exactly that centering our thinking on water is just so critical. That the redevelopment stuff looks at stormwater management and makes sure that natural habitat is being preserved and protected, as well as potentially repaired, I think I understand. And that, yeah, it's trying to stay within the existing footprint. I've done a lot of work with the sprawl, like around sprawl and the concerns around the pressure on water, like you're saying, once you start going further out from the city as well. Yeah, and just making sure that those natural corridors are part of the logic in city decision making, that tree cover and biodiversity need to be a part of the equation, and that it isn't that expensive. That's something that I really want to highlight, because no, it doesn't take much to get us moving in the right direction there. So thank you very much, DJ.
No, absolutely. And just to be really clear in terms of like we want Calgary to continue to grow. That's one of the things that makes Calgary a great place to live. We will continue to grow outward, but we also need to spend the time in terms of taking a look at how can we densify, how can we grow upward as well, try to balance that out a little bit more. And I will say that over the past sort of 10, 20 years, for anybody who lives towards the outskirts of the city or who ventures out there regularly. You can definitely see that the new neighborhoods that we've been building have been taking this into consideration. There's a lot more density out in those suburbs than the ones we might have been building 20 years ago, for example.
Yes, density for sure. We just speaking with Ward 3 yesterday to hear the Green Line. Did the Green Line impact your developments?
Yeah, 100%. So Green Line is something I'm definitely passionate about. I'm disappointed. When I ran last time around in 2021, one of the main things that I was saying to folks is that I'm really concerned that if the Green Line does not make it across the river in this first tranche of funding, it potentially could be 30 years before it gets up here. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. It's really disappointing for me because throughout Ward 4 is the 301, now known as the Max Green, BRT. It is the busiest bus route in the entire city. We have the ridership ready to go on the Green Line. Unfortunately, right now, BRT is slow comparatively to what it could be if we were to build something like the Green Line. Unfortunately, I fear that, how do you go and ask for more money to be able to build a bridge or a tunnel to get up into to the north side of the city when you haven't even finished building the south leg yet? So yeah, unfortunately, Green Line is a big one up here for sure. In the meantime, hopefully there's some things we can do to prepare for its arrival, including getting a spur line to the airport, but that's not necessarily about environmentalism specifically. So maybe we'll put a pin in that one for today.
Sounds good. Okay, so the next question is around budgeting dollars towards protecting Calgary's biodiversity, improving wildlife safety in urban environments through measurements such as enforcing bird-friendly building standards, retrofitting existing structures, and supporting safe wildlife corridors. How will you commit those budget dollars? Thank you.
Yeah, to a little bit what I was saying earlier on, we need to make these kinds of decisions in every single project that the city of Calgary does. So whether that's a planning project or a parks project or a transit project, this is the place where you're actually committing the dollars in order to be able to move forward on that triple bottom line. So I can definitely say that myself and the Calgary Party as a whole, like, we're committed to investing in biodiversity and wildlife safety. We can do that through ensuring a portion of retrofit funds can go towards meeting standards wherever appropriate. We're also really interested in working to prioritize wildlife corridors in community design so that safe crossings can exist, and that we have connected park systems as well. That's something that won't just benefit the urban wildlife, but it's also something that would benefit those of us who are regular walkers, which I am, or cyclists. One other thing I might say on this particular topic too is that Ward 4 specifically includes Nose Hill Park and Confederation Park, which are two of the most important natural habitats in the city. They need to be protected. That needs to be prioritized. Ward 4, though, also includes much of the Nose Creek Valley. And I'm very keen to build on Councillor Jasmine Meehan's notice of motion from this past year to formalize the protection of the valley in the most appropriate way possible in order to be able to protect the creek and its wetlands for Calgary's wildlife and for the people of Calgary to be able to enjoy as well.
Wonderful. So again, thinking that every project needs to be looking at those biodiversity and wildlife safety standards and helping make sure that people have the best opportunity to retrofit with those things. That it should be built into the community design. You see that as important, and that we need to protect. Yeah, that was also news to me that Nose Creek wasn't protected. So right. Yes, to make sure that you do get that formalized protection is so important, and not just there, but also Confederation Park. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would just to the point about Nose Creek a little bit more. Like, I think it's a fabulous opportunity that exists for the city of Calgary in order to be able to bring another large park on. Like, those connected parks in Ward 4 are so incredibly important. Not just like Confederation Park But Egert's Park is another great example of where we were actually tying together multiple communities. There's a lot of these sort of like spurs that come off of Nose Hill that are incredibly important wildlife corridors and biodiversity areas that are just places that we enjoy in our neighborhood. They're the places where you can go, you, Ward 4 is very lucky that we have a lot of locations where you can go for a walk and feel like you're outside the city. And so as a result of that, the Nose Creek Valley is another one of those examples that we absolutely could do that. And it already is a major transportation route. Obviously not just as it relates to trains, but the Nose Creek Pathway is a major thoroughfare in order for people to be able to commute into downtown. Anybody who's goes over there in the morning or in the evening, it feels like it's a highway sometimes with cyclists going back and forth, and that's the kind of thing that we can actually improve the infrastructure for while protecting the natural area at the same time.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, next question is around transit again. So what steps will you take to ensure housing, rent, and transit in Calgary are affordable and accessible so that more Calgarians can access services with dignity and live and work in a healthy city? Thank you.
Yeah, transit. I'm so happy that we're like actually talking about transit. It's a pretty important one for me. I won't get into like I have so many ideas as it relates to transit and how we can improve the frequency. I'll actually direct some folks over to djkelly.ca/policies, where you can take a look at a much more detailed policy there, including the Calgary Party's transit toolkit that offers a lot more detail in terms of some of the improvements that we can make to transit to make it more accessible and affordable. That being said, housing and transit, in my opinion, are climate policies as much as they're social policies. So a couple of things that I think that need to happen is that we need to ensure that zoning decisions, as there's more development happening in the city, are made to unlock more housing supply, especially near transit corridors. I'm very interested in terms of building those up in those particular areas, because that's what actually attracts more business to come to there. And then it also when you have more people living there, that also allows us to be able to increase the frequency of our transit system, which sort of takes me to my second point on this, is that it's actually incredibly important that we deliver reliable, frequent transit system, which includes expanding the Max Rapid bus system. And as we were talking about a minute ago, getting the Green Line North back on track. Definitely interested in terms of taking whatever steps we can in order to be able to prepare for that, so that when the money does start flowing at some point in the future, we're actually ready for that, and shovels in the ground can happen immediately. So there's a lot of sort of pre-work that the City of Calgary can do through existing projects that are going to be upcoming over the next 4 years, 8 years, and beyond, that we can keep in mind that we want to get the Green Line going to the north as well. Let's start making some of those investments now, so it becomes a lot easier for us to be able to get that going at that time. But like I said, for now, yeah, reliable, frequent transit is incredibly important in order to be able to have an affordable and an accessible city. And yeah, it's going to be a top priority for me for sure. And when I was saying earlier on, when we started this conversation about fixing broken sidewalks, filling potholes, reliable transit is the third thing in there that we need to spend some time focused on. And unfortunately, these have just not been top priorities in Ward 4. And as the city councillor, I definitely look forward to making them much higher priorities than they have been.
Wonderful. So I heard you want to make sure that housing supply is looking at those spaces that are near transit and that it provides people that opportunity to bring more people. Obviously leads to more need for frequency, which increases the frequency, adds to
Yeah,
all.
you nailed it right there. That's exactly it. Yeah, said it
Yeah.
better than I could have. It's a little bit of a chicken and the egg. You got to have one to have the other, so you got to focus on both.
Right. Right. And so that helps that system be a priority, if you will. And that the Green Line North is not something that's dead, and we need to make sure that it stays alive through those opportunities, like you're saying, between those in the next 4 to 8 years, to make sure that when it is time, you can go and get it done, get it back on track for your communities. Yeah, thank you. And it's great to know that you have some ideas about bringing more transit across the city, because I'm sure there is a lot of opportunity. Just yesterday, in one of the conversations, I think, was talking about this, like transit across the city rather than potentially just bringing it into downtown.
Yes,
There is a
absolutely.
huge opportunity for that. I'm sure. Like I could go up to Tuscany right now. I'd have to drive, unless I want to walk for. Well, I guess it's not that far, but you get the idea. Anyway, okay. So next question is around ENMAX. So ENMAX is a wholly owned um, uh, a company by the city of Calgary. What role do you see ENMAX, excuse me, in helping the city achieve its 2035 clean electricity goals? Thank you.
Yeah, Calgary's in a really beneficial place in terms of having a wholly owned subsidiary like ENMAX being our electricity provider. Um, and as a result of that, it should be and has to be a cornerstone of Calgary's clean energy transition. Um, we as a city council, as a city, can push ENMAX to adopt a transparent decarbonization roadmap with clear milestones regarding supply and procurement of clean energy. I want to be really clear on this one, though. This is something that ENMAX is already taking a look at. This is not like some radical new idea. ENMAX is already taking these kinds of steps, and I think that it definitely behooves us as a city to encourage that as much as possible, because not only does it improve our environmental impact, but it actually improves our financial sustainability as well. Um, and on that note specifically, and we were just talking about affordability, I think there's a role also for ENMAX to play in that, as it relates to supporting low-income Calgarians, specifically through expanded energy efficiency programs and equitable rate structures. As a wholly owned subsidiary, ENMAX doesn't just have goals to provide electricity to Calgarians. They also can help us meet the city of Calgary's goals as well. And so, yes, we're talking about our environmental goals here today, our climate strategy goals, but the city of Calgary obviously also has social goals as well, and supporting low-income Calgarians is one of them, and Max can play a great role in that. I think there's also an opportunity on that front, is to, as I'm saying, like, not treat ENMAX as just a revenue source. They've obviously are that and have provided a great deal of dividends back to the city of Calgary. But I think we also need to treat them as a public asset that's accountable for delivering affordable, clean power and helping achieve all the other goals that the city of Calgary has as well. Yeah, like I started out in saying to this, we're in a really beneficial place here. The fact that our energy utility is owned by the city, and as a result, we can do some other things there that that perhaps some other cities who are relying on contracting a third party provider, it's a lot more difficult for them in order to be able to hit some of these goals. And like I said, ENMAX is already thinking this way, and so I definitely want to encourage them as a stakeholder, as a city councillor, as a stakeholder of ENMAX, to be able to encourage them to continue in that direction.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think I'm learning so much about ENMAX through this conversation, because yes, they are a cornerstone of our city. I didn't actually know before doing this that we owned ENMAX, so all super helpful.
Well, maybe
yeah,
I should jump in there too, like and say, like, I've also gotten into ENMAX really well recently. Not in a great way, because I used to be, like I said in the intro there, I used to be president of the Winston Heights Mount View Community Association, and ENMAX is decommissioning one of their transmission lines. It's just at that age, it needs to be decommissioned. And they're looking for how to be able to reroute that transmission line. And they decided that the best way to do it is through a regional park in our area of the city. and then down a residential street. And transmission lines, for those who aren't familiar, are about 8-9 stories tall. They're huge. And we actually, when we caught wind of this, a bunch of neighbors got together and the DJ, how can you help us in terms of this? We worked with Alberta Utilities Commission in order to be able to advocate for that line to not be in above ground. We were advocating for it to be buried below ground as a way to be able to preserve the biodiversity in the park, especially on the bird side of things. A line underground is a lot more bird friendly than a massive transmission line above ground. But then also preserve some of the investments that are being made along this particular street, which is 17th Avenue Northeast, because it is to the point about housing and density from earlier. It is a street that is taking on a lot of that transition in the neighborhood of Winston Heights, Mount View. A lot of development is going on along that street right now, including at the other end of it is the City of Calgary's Midfield Park. And so the city is right now, we're starting to see the development permits come in for there, and to be able to ram a transmission line through there would obviously depress those property values, resulting in lower returns for the City of Calgary as they sell off those lots, and in perpetuity as it relates to property tax. So needless to say, through this process of working with lawyers and going to Alberta Utilities Commission, I too, Jenny, have learned far more about ENMAX than I ever thought that I would. I remember for the longest time not knowing the difference between what's the difference between distribution and transmission. I'm charged for both of those on my bill, and aren't those the same thing? I now actually know what the difference between those two things are, something that hopefully every city councillor would know the difference of. I'm also happy to report that we actually won that particular one. The Utilities Commission agreed that that ENMAX had not done nearly enough appropriate community engagement. And so as a result, we're now having conversations with them about what this line might look like in the future as they prepare another application go to Alberta Utilities Commission. Perhaps that was a little off topic, but
No.
yeah, I think it's important
Real world
that
example.
yeah, I think it's important that all of our city councillors really understand what ENMAX is, how it works, how it can really help the city of Calgary achieve so many of our goals. It's an incredible benefit for us to be able to have them as a wholly owned subsidiary of the city of Calgary.
Right. Yeah. So I heard also NMAX is looking at this. So yeah, I just actually have the opportunity. Somebody from Solar Alberta is going to participate in this next week, and they were mentioning that NMAX is looking to deploy a bunch more solar in the next coming years to get us on track, and that Calgary is in a really good position. So it is good to know that. Thank you for focusing on low-income Calgarians and making sure that there is an equitable rate structure for those folks. And that, the City of Calgary's goals are also met through ENMAX to make sure that that is something that we lever with them. And that, it helps us meet those social goals as well. And it should not just be thought of as a revenue source, that it is something that we can be very important. It's a public asset that can help us achieve our affordable clean power for folks in the city. So thank you.
I really appreciate the fact that you brought up ENMAX's solar work. I do think that they're heading in a really great direction on that side to be able to supplement our energy. I have solar panels on my house. I've worked with ENMAX in order to be able to the bidirectional meter that having to get that installed, for example. Lots of great conversations with ENMAX. They've been incredibly supportive as it relates to micro generation. Personally, I would really love it if the provincial government would open it up and allow more micro generation. It's kind of silly to me that it is currently limited to, I think it's 110% of your usage. We absolutely could generate more electricity from our house than we are currently legally allowed to by the provincial government. Perhaps a topic for another day, though, Jen.
Yeah, no, it's a great topic though, because then like you think about when you talk about equity, some roofs, just because of their canopy, they don't have that ability. So why wouldn't we be able to, lever a series of homes and make that 100% sort of equal over each of those rooftops, things like that. Just
It
planting some
really
seeds.
could, yeah, it really could be an easy thing to do if we microgeneration is I mean, not to mention, obviously, again, to the difference between distribution and transmission. Transmission lines lose an awful lot of their energy as they travel over large distances. Microgeneration does not travel over a long distance. We would lose a lot less of the energy that we are generating if we were able to increase the amount that we were able to generate locally from our homes, rather than having to bring it in from outside the city.
Yeah, amazing. Great. I'm excited to hear all of that. Okay.
Not something that ENMAX can do. I want to be real clear. That's a conversation
yeah,
with
we
the
got off
provincial
track.
government. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. We got a little off track, and that's okay. Okay, so how will you advance sustainable water use and watershed protection in Calgary's growth and development decisions? Thank you.
Yeah, so like we know that Calgary's water system is already under strain. I mean, anybody who was trying to water a lawn in May of last year is obviously familiar with this. Last year's Bears Paw South feeder main failure was, I hope, a wake-up call for every city council candidate that our water infrastructure needs to be maintained. Equally, I think, hopefully, in a wake-up call, this was shocking to me when I found out that, like, right now, about 22%, I think, is the number from the last study, of our treated water is lost due to leakage. That's compared to 5% in Edmonton. That is crazy to me. That is, with how important water is to Calgary and to Southern Alberta, to be able to lose that much tells me that the status quo is unsustainable, and we need to make some major changes in order to be able to improve that. I think that there might be an opportunity here, and it's something I'm really interested in exploring. There might be an opportunity here to learn from the ENMAX example that we were just talking about before. We could possibly create a modern publicly owned water utility that would be independent, accountable, and run by experts. The model is actually proven in other cities, like Edmonton, who have EPCOR. And as we were just talking about with ENMAX, it would be very similar sort of to the electricity utility that we currently have here. Doing something like this might actually allow us to protect some of our long-term water security, right? We'd be able to invest in preventative maintenance and monitor risk to avoid sort of these catastrophic failures that we've seen. And by the way, much of the water infrastructure in Ward 4 is of the same vintage as the Bears Paw feeder main. So we definitely need to be increasing our maintenance of those things. Another potential opportunity with something like this might be advancing sustainable growth, right? We could integrate our water infrastructure planning better with housing, transit, community development, to avoid overloading our rivers and our aquifers in Calgary. It also, and perhaps most importantly, would reduce hidden costs. Right now, a lot of what we do can be hidden in the bureaucracy of the city of Calgary. So it doesn't make things quite as transparent. So, like, it could, for example, replace today's site levies, which are, effectively a more than $12,000 hidden water tax on each new home, which obviously gets passed along to the home buyer. We can maybe do this with fair utility-based financing that sort of spreads the cost out over decades. And then, like, a little bit more on that, like, transparency side of things. We could actually require that utility to publish clear performance benchmarks, capital plans, and it could be overseen then by regulators and completely open to the public in a way that is a lot harder to do when it's simply a department of the city of Calgary. The reason why this is, kind of important is because Calgary is currently adding about 100,000 new residents each year. So maybe I'll back this up a little bit and say my day job at the University of Calgary is as the director of community partnerships. I also used to be president of the Winston Heights Mount View Community Association. Having conversations with people about how we get things done, partnership development, collaboration, are absolutely critical. And I think especially as it relates to water, collaboration with our regional partners is paramount. So I'm really interested in the city of Calgary increasing our participation in joint watershed protection, risk mapping, investment planning, um, with all of the different organizations and municipalities that touch on the Bow and Elbow rivers. And this is the way that we can ensure that Calgary's growth never undermines our shared water resources.
Wonderful. Okay, so you spoke about the our system is currently under strain. So yes, thank you for keeping track of that. And we did definitely get a wake up call last year with respect to that. I didn't, I've heard this 22% or 25% number from a few people, but no one has mentioned that that compares to only 5% losses in Edmonton. That's
Yeah,
really interesting. So yeah, and also that EPCOR is both a water and a utility. And why couldn't we have the
yeah,
same thing in Calgary? What a wonderful thought that is. Also thinking about sustainable growth analysis, so keeping water in that purview in terms of those offset levies and making sure that we are appropriately representing those levies and that it's clear and transparent is what I heard. And that there is this, thinking about community partnership and having that key role in the watershed councils and making sure that they have a key
yeah.
voice in the city. Thank you for that. As I'm on one of the committees for the Bow River Basin Watershed Council, so definitely appreciate their ability to help bring all of the stakeholders together in making
Well, and
cities.
that's where expertise lives, right? Like expertise is hyper local. Yes, there are functional experts that the city of Calgary would have, but the actual lived experience lives with people such as yourself who are sitting on those councils and committees, and obviously they're going to care more than anyone else will.
Yeah, thank you. I am learning, I have to admit, but very passionate about it. So thank you for that. Okay, last question. So, how will you ensure recommendations from Calgarians, including residents, frontline communities, environmental groups, and city staff, are meaningfully considered in council decisions?
Yeah, I guess I started touching on this in the last question. Like, this is who I am. Like, this is probably one of the main reasons why I'm running for city council. Uh, when I ran in 2021, it was primarily my neighbors that were the ones who convinced me to do it, because I had spent 6 years down at City Hall and worked in multiple fields down there. Again, marketing team, the corporate cultural transformation project, and then finally working on digital services to improve the digital services for the city. In each of those roles, I got to touch on every business unit that the city of Calgary has, and got to work with them all. And so as a result, between that and being president of the community association, it's not uncommon for me to go for a walk with the dog, or to go to the grocery store, and a neighbor will pull me aside and be like, "Hey DJ, what's going on with whatever that the city of Calgary is doing?" Uh, and so as a result, it was really those neighbors were the ones who, like last time around, who were like, "DJ, you need to run for city council because of the knowledge that you have, the experience that you have," and they basically formed the campaign team for me. Um, like I said earlier, my day job at the University of Calgary, when I first went there, I was the manager of community engagement. My title currently is director of community partnerships. That, the community association president, and frankly, all the volunteer work that I've done with every organization has been all about public service, bringing people together to have conversations about what most needs doing in your area. How can we work together in order to be able to achieve those, to the partnership point that we were just talking about earlier? Um, when we bring those things together with City Hall, we really start to realize that, like, we need to rebuild trust in City Hall. And the only way to do that is by ensuring engagement is real and transparent. That means we have to expand proactive engagement with residents, including frontline groups like we were just talking about earlier. And then also experts at the start of any process that the city of Calgary might be doing. Uh, I've heard this at door after door as I've been knocking Ward 4. far too frequently, the city of Calgary will have their experts in whatever department figure out like this is what we should do, but we're legislated in order to be able to engage. So let's ask the residents, do they want a red widget or a blue widget? And then you meet with them and people go, who told you we even want a widget? Like that's not at all. You've missed the boat entirely in terms of what it is that we want. That's the kind of thing that we need to fix and bring that engagement earlier on in the process. Some other things that we can do in order to be able to help rebuild that trust is requiring council to publicly report on how community recommendations were incorporated into a project or why they weren't. Right now, it frequently feels like our when they do engage us, it just kind of goes into a void, and we don't necessarily hear back in terms of how that worked. They definitely will produce like what we heard reports, but the next step is how were they engaged, or pardon me, how were those incorporated, or how weren't they? And another thing that I think, again, this is speaking as a former community association president, I think that we need to strengthen our two-way communications with community associations and advisory groups, so that their input can actually shape decisions and not just be check boxes. Trust in council comes from listening, acting, and then showing accountability. And so I can definitely say, as the councillor for Ward 4, this right here, what we're talking about, will be my number one priority. If we don't improve this, then we've definitely failed. And after as many years as we've had in Ward 4 of the current councillor, I think that this is an area that is ripe for improvement in the area. And I think that compared to the other candidates, I'm probably the best positioned in order to be able to do that, because it will be my number one priority, and I do have a fair bit of experience in this area.
Yeah, thank you, DJ. To bring that expertise to the council is tremendous. Yes, to understand that when we start from a place of inclusion first goes so much further. You know, some candidates have talked about zoning or rezoning, and to me, it's that community first engagement that is going to move the dial on anything we do. So thank you for appreciating the proactive.
Yeah, I might add to that to say that it really what it is when it comes to, like we were saying earlier, like you're the local expert, you know your area better than anyone else. Zoning is a great example of this, in the fact that it's not just a bureaucratic process, it's affecting people's individual lives. Have a conversation with those local experts, find out what they know, find a way to be able to incorporate that into your project. It'll only make it better in the end.
Right. And, you know, as a professional, there's so many times where it's like, we can't do that. Okay, we're continuing anyway. And then you come back to it and it's like, still can't do it. You know,
Yep.
So you're right. Like just starting from those places of evidence-informed decision-making will go so far. So I'm so glad that that's a focus of yours and makes sense from your experience. That council to to publish public reporting about how engagement occurred or didn't occur and why or why not. That's super helpful. And this, yes, I'm not in a community association, I'm on my residents association. But yes, you're absolutely right. I'm confused as to how we are supposed to engage and at what level and when.
Yes.
And it feels, you know, I can say from there's a tower going, or, you know, I'm in Ward 6. So there's, you know, a building that was supposed to be 7 feet and now it's 21. And yeah, I tried to engage and was told it was not the right time. And then I was told that the engagement process is over. So I have no idea when I was supposed to do that. And you're right. I don't feel set up for success for my community and even helping bring people along and what's happening in that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I feel you. I sit on the planning and development committee, have for 10 years in my neighborhood, and we have a dual mandate there. Number one is to offer feedback on how any particular development fits within our local area plan. But then the second thing is to be able to inform residents of how best to be able to participate in that process, what the next steps are, what your rights are, etc. The only reason we do that as a community association is because the city of Calgary does not.
Right. Yeah. Yes, it's a gap for sure. And there needs to be some understanding of how to close that gap between the two. So yes, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. So I just want to offer you anything that you'd like to add or close with before I let you carry on with your door knocking and busy day, I'm sure.
No, I appreciate the hour together. Hopefully, anybody who's watching found it informative. Obviously, we were talking about a lot of these things primarily through an environmental sustainability lens, but there's a lot of other reasons to do a lot of these things too. No, I think Ward 4 is an area of the city that is ready for some more investment in it. And as a result of that, there's a lot of opportunities that'll come our way that we need to make sure that we're taking all the appropriate precautions in order to make sure that we are growing in an appropriate and sustainable way. That the residents of Ward 4 can be able to enjoy for generations to come. I'm really excited about the possibilities, and yeah, I hope that the residents of Ward 4 will my neighbors will lend me their vote here come on October 20th, and we can get going immediately in terms of having conversations about how we can improve our neighborhoods, what most needs doing in your neighborhood, and then get to work on executing those things. I appreciate the
Wonderful.
opportunity, Jenny. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do want to add, you talked about your neighbors supporting your run. So, I mean, it's a huge, it speaks a lot to your values when that comes through. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, DJ. This is where it'll be housed. I'm just highlighting for folks. This is where this conversation and the answers that I already got from DJ are. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have best of luck to you in these last few weeks. Good luck till the end.
Thank you very much, and good luck to you as you have the unenviable task of trying to interview as many of the candidates in this election as possible.
Yes, I am looking to some co-hosts in this to make sure that I still have some energy by the time it's near the end. But yes, I'll do my best. Thank you so much, DJ. Okay, so just to remind you folks that please use the QR code in the corner. Like I said, I have limited answers from the other members of Ward 4. Like to see somebody participate from Ward 5. I do have some people lined up for Ward 6, 7, and 8 so far. We'll be reaching out to those in Ward 9 and 10 and all the way through 14 in the next couple days, I hope. And yeah, really looking forward to meeting with the rest of your candidates and the mayoral forum. So again, the mayoral forum is for sure going to have Jody and Jeremy on October 2nd at 7 p.m. Please check out the website. The links are in the chat here. And remember to like and subscribe to the Gravity Well so that we boost these conversations and make sure that the candidates' voices are heard by their members. Have a great rest of your day.